Welcome to Celebration's Magical Moments. I'm Tim Foster and I'll be taking you on a tour of some of your favorite Walt Disney World attractions and resorts. Before we get started, if you have a favorite secret or little known fact, be sure to share it with us in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for even more Disney magic. In this episode, we'll be going on an exotic expedition courtesy of one of the oldest attractions in Walt Disney World, the Jungle Cruise. Your journey through the Jungle Cruise actually takes you on a fictional tour of four of the longest rivers in the world: the Amazon, the Congo, the Nile, and the Mekong, which is actually the seventh longest river in Asia. Don't believe me? Well, you must be in denial. And don't worry folks, there's plenty more where that came from. However, my favorite Jungle Cruise river is the Zambezi River. And why not? It's the fourth longest river in Africa, the longest east-flowing river in Africa, and the largest river flowing into the Indian Ocean from Africa. And it's also home to the famous Victoria Falls. Impressive, right? Okay, I sense you're not totally behind me on this one, but go with me. I'll let you know why it's my favorite. Some of you may be wondering why I'm even talking about the Zambezi River, since, as we've just discovered, your Jungle Cruise tour takes you down four rivers and none of them are the Zambezi. And you're right, but the answer can actually be found in the names of the boats. Yep, that's right, every boat has its own name. For example, see if you can spot the Amazon Annie, the Congo Connie, and the Nile Nellie. And as you may have figured out by now, each boat is named after a famous river, and that includes the Zambezi River. But what's so special about this particular boat? Well, I'm sure Nintendo fans all over the world will surely agree with me that this boat is the best one of all, for that boat's name is, wait for it, the Zambezi Zelda. You see how I linked all that together? Hey, it's the Jungle Cruise. What did you expect? So now that we've set off on our journey, you may notice that the water is rather murky, just as you would expect to find deep in the heart of the untamed wilderness. As with many of those great Disney details we all know and love, this was by design. The coloring of the water obviously gives an air of authenticity to the jungle ambience, but it also serves the secondary purpose of concealing all of the underwater apparatus used to bring the animals to life, as well as to cover the track that your boat is gliding on. Which means, no, your guide isn't doing the actual piloting once you leave the loading dock. Now the water, which is only about 3.5 feet deep, was originally dyed brown, but in recent years its coloring was changed to a bluish-green hue. When Walt Disney came up with the idea for the Jungle Cruise, he originally wanted real animals in the attraction. However, he quickly realized that the specific animals he had in mind would often be sleeping during the day, and even if they were up and about, they'd probably be hiding away somewhere where the guests wouldn't be able to see them. So instead, the decision was made to use mechanical animals instead. The advantage of this was that all of the animals would be front and center, though whether they had their trunks on or not was beyond the control of the Imagineers. So the Jungle Cruise seemingly became a classic audio animatronic attraction, much in the spirit of Pirates of the Caribbean and the Hall of Presidents. But let's see how closely you were paying attention during your journey. How many animatronic figures are actually on the Jungle Cruise? Did you say 30? How about 50? Maybe 100? Well, the answer may surprise you. It's actually 0. 0? As in nada? Zilch? Yep. Even though there are about 130 animals to be found on the Jungle Cruise, none of them are true animatronic figures. This is because the sophisticated mechanisms used in audio animatronic figures wouldn't be able to withstand the constant flow of water, not to mention the weather elements. The animals on the Jungle Cruise are actually simplistic machines that use a combination of pneumatics and air pressure. Still, they're pretty convincing, especially when the elephant raises his trunk to duck. Hey, I tried to warn you. Though the animals are certainly a highlight of the attraction, we all know who the real star is: your pilot. The performance of your cast member goes a long way toward making the Jungle Cruise one of the most beloved attractions in all of the Magic Kingdom. They're brave, they're fearless, they know these waters like the back of their hands, but best of all, they've got lots of jokes. Tons of jokes! In fact, they have so many jokes that you can ride again and again and get a new show each time. and there are far too many to repeat here, but here are some of my favorites. Here in the rainforest, it sometimes rains 365 days per year, and some years, it even rains every day. And look at all the elephants out here today. If you want to take pictures, go ahead. All the elephants have their trunks on. And by the way, you may think that's water coming out of their trunks, but it's not. As we approach the docks, please notice that there's a dock on the left and a dock on the right, but don't let it confuse you. It's a paradox. Over there is Schweitzer Falls, named after the famous Dr. Albert Falls. And incidentally, you can find a plaque from the Adventureland Chamber of Commerce honoring Alberta Falls as the Businesswoman of the Year in 1937, hanging in the nearby Skipper Canteen. I'm sure Dr. Falls was quite proud. But wait, the jokes aren't just reserved for the pilot. As you wind your way through the queue, see if you can spot a sign for the Jungle Navigation Company Limited Employee of the Month board near the boarding area. One of the names is ELO Fever. Say the name a few times fast to discover the one thing you don't want to find on your cruise. A chalkboard on the exit path for the Jungle Cruise lists several skippers who have apparently gone missing, including Eileen Dover and Anne Fellin. And this one's my personal favorite. See if you can find the board with the crew mess lunch menu, which lists a number of exotic dishes such as fricassee of giant stag beetle, barbecued three-toed skink, consommé of river basin slug, and fillet of rock python. However, the menu notes that all of these items actually taste like chicken. Too much for you? Don't worry. On Fridays, they actually do serve, wait for it, chicken. One of the scenes in the Jungle Cruise features the remains of a crashed plane buried deep in the jungle undergrowth. Now, if the plane looked familiar to you on a past voyage, that may have been because you had just visited the great movie ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios. In the Casablanca scene, Disney's Imagineers included a Lockheed Electra 12A plane, just like the one seen in the film. But since they only needed the front of the plane, the Imagineers used parts of the back of the plane for scenes in the now closed backlot tour, as well as the Jungle Cruise, and this is the plane you see today. A piece of cinematic history, right? Well, actually not. Despite the persistent rumor, and one that's often unwittingly passed on by cast members, the plane you see in the Jungle Cruise and formerly on the Great Movie Ride is not the actual plane from the film. Now, how can we be so sure? Because the plane used in the film wasn't an actual plane. A real plane would have been far too large to fit inside the soundstage, so what you see on screen is actually a half-scale model. However, the plane we see today is actually a real plane, even though it wasn't the one used in the film, but it still makes for a great story. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Celebration's Magical Moments. Again, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and be sure to visit us at celebrationspress.com, where you can discover even more Disney magic with Celebrations magazine, as well as our series of collector's books. So join me next time as we take another journey through one of your favorite attractions, and in the meantime, keep on enjoying the magic.